Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Che, and I'm back at it for another story time today. This one, kind of, the guy got mad at me in the beginning, and it ended up saving his life in the end. So it just goes to show how karma can work sometimes. And I mean, come on. I was homeless in Kensington for 8 months. I have a documentary of stories. So the important ones, you know, and the ones that I really remembered, I'll be sure to share them with you because my last story time, it seems like you guys really enjoyed that. And I constantly am watching story times. So yeah, this is the story of the time I saved a guy's life and he didn't even know it yet. And the way he treated me before, well, you know what? Just screw that. You already know what to do. If you want to hear about the time I saved this guy's life, then just keep waiting because it's coming up right now. All right, so little backstory. I'm going to make it short. I promise. I'm not lying this time. I'm not like, this is going to be my shortest video. And it's like 37 minutes long because I can't shut my dumb ass up. So this guy was getting off of the bus, right? And he literally was going to slip off the step. So I caught him and he turned around and he said, "Thank you." And I saved his life. No, totally just kidding. That's not the story. All right, let me get serious. Okay, so anyway, let me close my makeup drawer. You like my vape? I got another new one. I can't help it. Matches my hair, so I kind of had to. But anyway, this is a time when me and Matt were living out in Kensington, and we had our own stuff on us. And there was 2 other guys sitting next to us on a bench. They had just bought in from another set. So it was Matt, me, and then the 2 guys. So the 4 of us were on a bench. And Matt, was getting his stuff ready because I was the only one out of those 4 that didn't shoot. All I do is, I'll just pour mine out and I sniffed it. I never shot heroin. Thank God. Thank God. But anyway, Matt, was getting ready to do his thing. And as I went to my baggie, it wasn't like ripping open. Like it was put in one of the plastic, it was in a plastic one first. Then they put that wax paper and fold it inside. And I'm like, why can't I get this damn wax paper open, So I was like, like I went like that. And the guy's whole setup that he had, like, and when you're homeless in Kensington, you don't have money. So his powder and what they do is like they like to take, that's why you find so many water bottle caps and water bottles, because they use the water bottle cap, pour their powder in it, put any water in it, and they put a little tiny piece of cotton in it. And that's what they soak up through the syringe so it takes any of the dirt out of it. But when I pulled, like, boom, like that, his shit went everywhere. His bottle cap all over the floor. He literally stood up and was like, I can't stand up in a chair and I don't want to be out of view. But he literally stood up and he was like, "You dumb F..." I'm just going to say it and censor it when I'm done. "You dumb fucking bitch." He said, "That was all I had left." And then at this point, this was when Matt hadn't used yet. Thank God, because he would have been catching flies. So he hadn't used yet. And for him to put his shit down and not use, that's telling you something. So Matt, the one thing I always struggled with was saying no in my life. And that is one thing I have taken from him, is if I don't want to do something, I've learned to be stronger in that way and say no. Like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to give you a ride. I don't want to do this. And I don't want to do that. Like, I've learned to say no to people, to people that deserve it, not my friends. So anyway, Matt stood up and they were sized up. They were about the same height, but Matt's voice was way louder than this kid, and this kid was so sick, and that's all he wanted was that bag. I was like, guys, just chill. I said, we have extra. We didn't just buy two, you know, like, we come here and then we leave, like, oh, here, I'll give you one of mine. And he was like, nah, bro, I want what we just got. It's the best shit on the block, yo, like, everyone's talking about it. And I'm not going to name the name of the stamp because there's no point, you know, it's probably gone by now. So anyway, the other dude, he's like, man, yo, that sucks. And then the kid was like telling him, he's like, yo, come on, just split some of that shit with me, man. He's like, you know how sick we both are. Like, just give me like a little bit so I can use it. Like, I'm sick. And the other kid was like, dude, I drove us out here. Like, hell no. He's like, I'm using. And if you can find $5 to go get a bag, go get one. And we were offering him ours. We had extra. So at this point, this guy is fuming because he's sick. So he's pacing. But he knows we have stuff. We offered it to him. So he ended up doing one of our bags, you know, and I see him start to go, you know, into like a little bit of a nod, but he was still with it. So he was definitely used to using fentanyl. Well, the other kid goes, and he went and he shot in his arm. Within 10 seconds of shooting, if somebody can explain why this happened, please tell me, because I've never seen this in my life before. But within about 10 seconds, it looked like he was like he put his fingers like up near his nose, and all of a sudden he like leaned back, but he started like convulsing, like literally convulsing, started foaming at the mouth. And then immediately, me and Matt were the only one with phones. So we called 911. We laid this kid flat on the ground. I'm holding his head up just so he can get his chin up, just so he can get some oxygen in him or whatever. It happened in a matter of 10 seconds of shooting it. So whatever great dope that was out on the street, probably 100% fentanyl, literally is making this guy, he's on the floor having a convulsion, literally seizing out of the mouth. The stuff I've seen, it is unreal in my life. It's unreal. So I'm literally trying to hold his chin up. I'm like, it's okay, you know, it's okay. The cops are on the way. You're going to be Narcaned. You're going to be Narcaned. And I remember he just like, he had this look in his eyes as I'm holding his chin up. And I remember him looking at me, and he just kind of went, like he looked scared, almost like he was saying like, no, like I'm going, you know, and he was just like, and froze. He just froze as I was holding up his chin. He just froze. And then the other kid that had just used the bag that me and Matt had given him, he looked at me, because there's so many overdoses. The ambulance wasn't there yet. By the time the ambulance had arrived, they said, there's no Narcanning. There's no Narcanning him. He's dead. There's no pulse. There's nothing. And I remember that they put a sheet over top of him and they rolled him into the back of the ambulance, which I didn't like the way that they flopped his body onto the thing, but I have to remember that, like, they do this probably 50 times a day. You know what I mean? It's almost like they grow cold to it after a while. And the kid ended up sitting down with me and Matt, and he ended up crying, and come to find out that was his cousin. And he said that, you know, that was the only person that he had, you know, out there with him, and that was his cousin. And, you know, he didn't know what to do. You know, now he had his cousin's car with his keys. So I'm assuming, I wish I would have gotten this kid's number, but he didn't have a phone. So I don't know if he took his cousin's car and rode the streets of Kensington or whatever, but I'll never forget the words. He literally turned and he looked at me, and like just the way he looked at me when I was trying to rip my bag open, like, cause I was like, oh, and like I literally knocked the same batch that they got. So if he would have shot what he did, he would have died on the spot too. So he literally looked at me and he said, like, he was looking at me kind of confused. Like, he was like, thank you. He said, I feel like you're an angel. He said, thank you for saving my life today. And I said, it wasn't me that saved it. I said, thank God, because any bag I can always easily open, you know, but this one was giving me trouble. It's the only reason my elbow knocked into you. Like, I would never do that, you know? And all he just said, it's like, and as he was walking away, you know, from the scene, because he didn't want to, obviously you don't want to be there where your cousin just seized out and foamed at the mouth. That's what I want to know. If somebody can leave it in the comments below, what caused him to foam like that easily? Was it laced with something? Was it pure fentanyl? I know, like, some people will, like, nod, and, like, after 10 minutes they'll get, like, a little bit of saliva and they'll get a little bit of foam. This was instant, almost like he was choking on the foam within 10 seconds, convulsing on the ground, just shaking. And it was a scary sight, because it's not a movie, it's real life, you know? I still get emotional talking about it. But, yeah, so, as the kid was walking to his cousin's car, I remember, like, me and Matt started going this way, he started going that way, and I remember I looked back at him because the whole scenario, I don't know how it happened, but when I looked back at him, it was funny, because as he was walking, he literally turned back, and he looked back at me. And then I remember waving to him, you know, and he waved, and then he went like this. He went like this, you know, like put his hands on his heart. And I never saw the guy again in my life. But had me and Matt not met those two people that one day, had a random conversation, I'm struggling with my stuff, which I know it's all bad. I'm just looking for my remote because I'm getting to the point where it overheats. All right, that worked. I know that none of it is good. You know, when you're using, none of it is good. But it's been, you know, I got clean in, well, I always say April 2018 because that's when I graduated from the program. But I got put in the program January 1st of 2018. So, you know, I'm like at 3.5 years, almost around there. And, but I like to just say April 2018 because that's when I completed the program. You know, that's when I had my certificate and I showed it off proudly. But, there's been a lot of coincidences, as you can tell, on my stories that, how did I mean, me and Matt were literally just walking. We always keep to ourselves. We don't talk to people. And out of nowhere, we decide to sit on a bench, and two random people come and sit next to us. And I remember I looked at Matt, you know, because sex trafficking is huge over there. And that's a whole nother story that I'll do at a story time. But sex trafficking is huge. If a guy gets a hold of you over there, and it's not like you're going to, like, you know, what do they call those? Like a bando, where, like, you're having sex with all these different guys just so you can stay high all day. If you get mixed up with the wrong crew, honey, you're getting drugged. You're gonna wake up in Syria. You're gonna wake up in another country where you don't even understand their language. And it's so disturbing it's just a whole nother story on its own. So you have to be very protective of yourself when you're out there. And that's why, you know, I always think of Matt, because he was my protector. He was my guardian angel when we were out there. But on this day, I got to be the guardian angel. And, you know, that's why I said, don't thank me. You know, I've opened millions of these little baggies. And the one day that I have problems and I bang yours, he literally stood up, wants to hit a girl, wants to fight me, and then he sees his cousin convulse, foam at the mouth, and ends up getting taken away in an ambulance dead. And then he ended up, you know, just, I told you, looking at me very strangely, and he said, you're like an angel today, you know, like, even though his cousin passed, you know, like, he said, you saved my life. You saved my life. He said, I'll never forget today. And I told Matt when we got in the car, I said, Matt, if you do know, if he would have used that, I said, he would have died too. And he said, Chaley, you have some crazy, like, experiences. Like, just the time of things that happen with me. It's like, I know the Lord is walking with me. And I know that Jesus walked with me while I was in Kensington the entire time. That God never left my side. But that was the story of how I saved John Doe's life. I don't even know his name to this day. But I have thought about him recently, you know, and I pray that him and everybody out there has stopped. I hope that day was a wake-up call for him, but with how bad he was fiending, to me it just seems like he got his cousin's car for a little while and the keys, and I don't know, he probably got in trouble eventually and got locked up, and hey, maybe he stopped and maybe he's clean like me today, or maybe he's still out there suffering. I don't know. But that was the story of how I accidentally, pretty much, saved somebody's life. And they were angry at me in the beginning, and then they ended up thanking me and told me they thought that I was like an angel that day that saved their lives. So that was my story time. Another one of my crazy stories that happened in Kensington. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. And I'm looking through I kept a journal when I was out there of all the crazy stories. So, you know, I'll be sharing some more things. Some are a little too graphic and I'm not like ready to talk about them yet. And then some of them have to do with Matt too, you know, so I just need to take a little bit more time before I can explain those stories. But for anyone that made it this far and listened to how I saved this guy's life from an elbow bump trying to rip my bag open, thank you. And thank you for listening. And to anybody else struggling, I always say this: be careful, because what it is today, it's fentanyl and trank. You're getting fentanyl and tranquilizer in everything. And that's why people are, you know, hanging over with they're stuck. They're stuck. Me and Matt used to call it the Kensington crab walk. And it is kind of, the term was funny because people would be like, you know, their arms out, legs out. We were like, yep, there's the Kensington crab. We'd be like, whoa, that's a big Kensington crab. You know, like it was an inside joke. But this is what that stuff will do to you. It freezes you. That's what the trank does. And on top of the fentanyl, when you have that tranquilizer literally freezing your body and the fentanyl is slowing your heart rate down, the fentanyl on top of the trank is just it's automatic death. It is an automatic death shot in your arm. So I hope this story brought some awareness to people, and if you are struggling, I love you. You can do it. I made it out of it. I came off of everything when I was pregnant, off of Xanax and coming off of fentanyl, and I was in jail, and they wouldn't even give me Librium to help me because I was pregnant. And I had the willpower. Only 5 days I was in jail, and when I got out of jail, one of the bus stops I went to was Vineland. I was actually offered dope the day I got out of jail. And you know what happened? When he was like, yo, I got some of this, and I was feeling really sick, my bus pulls right up like this. I can't even see the kid. He's on the other side of the bus. And I said, wow, God, you just tested me again. Thank you. And I walked right up the steps, and I got in the bus, and I got my ass home. So it's just another sign where God had my back. So thank you for listening again for the 10th time, and I will be back with another story time. I love each and every one of you. There's a gnat or something. And I just want everyone to stay safe, because this opioid epidemic has gone way too far. And when it took my fiance is when I really, I want to do something, some type of nonprofit. I'm going to be sharing my stories, but thank you for listening to this one today, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Take care, everyone.